Therefore, like the voters, the people of like the state that succeed in that usually making it out of that medical examination building after that sometime that precisely after that successfully to figure out I think of the three victims that was targeted at like the cost by the most of the cost placing of or like this not but we have to bring that in while doing those three autopsy like in that let's definitely so different when most likely having a revelation and this will be most likely that like in that three victims like the attack mark so and the pattern attack pattern would be exactly the same but at the same time like when they would be also totally realizing kind of realization at that point that like the attack pattern of when like the monster had like when they have witnessed like this like monster like attacking Owen like that and like the attack pattern on around that was inputted by like the monster was like completely different from like the attack pattern on like the three victims. Maybe around the lines of like careerizing member to something black over there without really at all while closing out of scene. Have it like the scenario that I'm mentioning. So like definitely this given and the mention that actually the case of like the monster attack on throne like might have definitely say that might have attack on but like in the case of like the monster attack on like the whole man at like the meeting house of like those attacks on there like and so like might have definitely been like we like the disguise of that area like exact monster form that might be a stealth for like stealth means maybe using that as like project while executing a like attack on like the first three victims as well as like the fourth victim of like the whole that it might be each and every time it might be according to like the game's linguistic strategy for stealth that means might who might already know of that say the person like the power to transform into like this like not the form which might be the case also with human friends. So like Queens might be aware of this and so like postal Queens might have decided taking the resident to that Queens who has already been revealed to that game elected into that felt ordinary different human form that would I'm so different for these to also be able to like picture into that the exact monster form of that serious length of the transformation might be like that the difference between like the possibility that I'm coming. So like if in the case of that uh, target of like the old man like so like in the case of like the attachment like the old man like might already been wins and not saber like saber when presented that exact location might have been solely due to that saber like concern for that for like them say that by herself like going up to like that community house location of like the restaurant where like Tyler had already won and it is like kind of like the base of the case. So luckily that so this might be the case for Philip Graham. So like the monster that had basically fired on Wednesday as soon as like Wednesday from like the community house of like the superactor had the vision about like Woody Adams like at that point like the monster that fired on Wednesday might have definitely been Queen and Norm Savior. Being in that Savior's like monster house and no other Savior might be like the approach to the with definitely by the English and so that the footprint of like the monster turning into that human footprint might have that as well might have been definitely been definitely not the everything like so things especially not the original and also like sounds into some continual creations like they don't really that or they like said like might be always like accompanying things while during most missions of that things especially months so like definitely after like spying on like Wednesday at like the meeting house of that Joseph Thraxton that while Wednesday had seen like the footprint of like the most of the intellectual in like the footprint instantly vanished might have definitely unlike what Wednesday believed as it's being dating like the rain like that you might not be the case. Instead it might have been thought his through that thought his like powers which like might be like having the ability like control any plant that is life form definitely not like this. So like using that power to like control that sound it might have been thoughtful. He might have been steadily accompanying leaves that who might have been steadily hiding nearby who might have that probably could be one thing that Wednesday no like the footprints like it might have been thoughtful while Wednesday like ran into the favor of that point so like someone might have quickly using our powers to like control like the grass and that. it might have been something that might have just been hidden, like the footprint and with like the graph might have been what might have happened is the moving of brain. So that definitely according to my procedure impression and totally putting that way that eventually in that service confusion and totally putting that stage up to that usually get like fully used and get framed usually that gene is like 30 and when it's by the end so different like stage up eventually I'm going to bring like maybe either the shirt or like let's say that finding out about like stage up like they're going to be having with like modes of transformation like the exact modes up in that the photo of that of like the most of that has taken out like whole man the population. So definitely that way I'm just from like engineering like the future like and go different like stage of that beginning around different accounts as like the as savior being like the most of that's like attacking all these like and victims and like the possibility that was more and everything is like playing good possible scenario seems of the scenario that I'm just putting I saw that my duration question that I'm sitting on before me that like it might not have anything that a scenario where like say that by sheer coincidence I don't might doubt or heard a conversation about like the fourth victim happening or like say what that maybe that just somehow happened to that find out like the person information about like the fourth victim happening somehow which might have resulted in like say that only at that point that basically deciding to like take advantage of that situation where like say that might straight away assume that basically so with like the conflict act happening like definitely that the sheriff like Tyler's father is definitely heading off to like investigate so like at that point to like take advantage of that situation to like to get rid of this like competition and to prevent that like on like the possibility that like say that might totally yeah, of that is limited in terms of like Wednesday point for like Tyler. So that means that way that Taylor at that point like taking advantage of that situation and really sneaking in and infiltrating into like Tyler's phone and that attacking Tyler. Might have been what might have happened with like Tyler situation simply don't friend don't get and so like the scratch mark on like Taylor's neck might have been actually inflicted by Tyler Stephanie by the Korean. So while say that might have attacked Tyler Stephanie by the Korean. So like even though on the next scenario might have ended up with like Tyler getting badly injured by Tyler getting badly injured by Savior. Yet like or Tyler might have seen might have been the monster form of that Savior. Might have been like the case with Minor as well. That this monster attack Savior like the moment Savior might have infiltrated into like Tyler's home, might have quickly sit into transformed into might have transformed into black monster form and might have quickly attack kind of might have been what might have happened is that we going to like so like the after like attacking like say what might have straight away left and say in that kind of case like unlike in the ground space where I'm just letting zone space like when where I'm just might have been say the one just like most of most that might have attack like about since in like ground space like say might have definitely not or injured or like might have not try attempted at all to like take Rowan out, but to that okay only steer Rowan into that okay and not even ever attempting to like attempting to like ever like engage up Wednesday might be that the intent with which like figure myself at that power in the past certainly membrane. But in the case of like Tyler, like Abandoned and let's say that might have only attack Tyler with like the intent to that take out Tyler might have been like the case like legal premise. So in like say with like one of the might have been like the case with the premise. So like Tyler might have been so extremely badly injured that like Tyler might have totally been into like an almost immobilized kind of state. So like at that point like Taylor might have or confidently thought that basically kind of it's not going to survive and like save up in his back on the phone. Might have straight away quickly left kind of phone might have been what might have happened with living with English. So yet like what might have also happened might have been that Tyler might have definitely instigated in the sense that like Tyler might have definitely managed to like survive and I'm considering either like Tyler as well might be secretly having some sort of like powers using the bridge like trying to Tyler might also be remove like the drainage needed of like the bathtub and might have managed to like survive through such a manner. Either using his powers or like using his like feet, he might have like the drainage the of like the bathtub might have been what might have happened is like the development. So like the scenarios that I'm discussing for like by the time like I just thought of like the sheriff might have return back home after like the investigation of the conflict that goes and look and that Tyler's father might have had this much shock of that finding Tyler in a badly injured state on like the verge of like basically getting taken out and that basically uh, at that point that the sheriff might have quickly managed to like get Tyler to like the hospital and like that where Tyler might have successfully survived. Might have been what might have happened that movement during and and that way, upon different friends from different languages, like usually visiting like China, to better that China at the hospital, and I'm doing like doing like the interaction between language and China, like I'm doing China still not having any idea at all as for like the identity of like the monster, like China maybe actually believing that it's like an actual monster or something would do like that have attack like the first three of four victims that have like been like the exact most of that have attacked Tyler would be along the lines like Tyler might be telling Wednesday, but like at that point like I'm just like Wednesday maybe being like connects a lot because like Wednesday thinking back to like the point of like this like most of that had saved Wednesday from like how exactly while Rowan was like about to like take Wednesday out as well as that with like most of like really attacking Tyler as well as like attacking like the old man like the fourth victim as well. So it's like the recent three targets of like some of the all uh, were all like people that Webster had interacted with that had like a connection with that basically as well as like Wednesday I will remember like the thing that Wednesday had about like a fight uh, between like Owen as well as like Saber, like on the from maybe that Wednesday at that point maybe being able to like that way Wednesday feeling that like she has finally connected so Ross and maybe that Wednesday saying that basically like Saber that is little like that it might have been Saber exactly like during like the Gamble incident that it might have been Saber that might have like saved Wednesday from like Owen and that way it might have been taken up. That might be like an option that might have that someone and might be able to do that behavior that affection of obsession towards that Wednesday being the reason for like say the most likely like having have, having that like kind of fill up and also like Wednesday at that point only feeling that basically that like things like Shagok had this like a movement towards like Wednesday like visions and basically Wednesday believing that these visions are real and like Wednesday like for investigating to which all like Shagok might have had this like objection towards to make it difficult for like Wednesday to do her investigation. She might have been Shagok that might have taken out that the old man for victim might be along the lines of the and maybe at that point like Wednesday come to such a conclusion and like maybe even at that point like feeling that basically not only that like Sega might certainly be like someone but also that like Sega might be secretly having an allegiance to like the Crackstone family and this might be the reason for like Sega maybe and that might be the reason for like maybe Sega like maybe taking out like the old man might be along the lines of the book I made Wednesday thing to like the extent of my maybe come to such a conclusion. It's also like an equal that scenario that I'm going to in that way like Wednesday like completely losing that trust any extent of like trust that like Wednesday had towards like Savior like completely ending up being gone from that point on. Definitely not to understand like Savior Wednesday from that point on keeping a sharp eye on Savior and maybe even spying on Sylvia. It's also like the scenario that I'm moving and like when they're totally refusing to like run at all with that Sylvia from that point on. I just like towards like Sylvia being formed within like Wednesday from that point on. It's also like an equal person scenario that I'm just about to bring in friends. While according to my friends and while at the same time that Wednesday will be might be often from that time might be often visiting at the better side as well as definitely also like the case is like the scenario that I'm living and that totally frustrating say the even more than basically say the being desperate to like take out side of basically and basically like like side that they say that like attempting another like tilting attack on that side but like the next time let's say we are would be attempting attack like in the different like Wednesday precisely capturing say your right hand in red-handed in like Xavier like MonsterCave, and like that way like Wednesday standing in like the way as like Xavier would be about to attack Tyler as like going to scenario that I'm so like that way like I'm going to bring like Wednesday catching Xavier red-handed and like if or like Wednesday like actually witnessing that Xavier purpose like MonsterCave like Wednesday calling out to like the monster about Xavier's name and at that point I'm like and at that point, Savior is getting defeated and like Savior and then at that point was like monster form directed and form right in front of like Wednesday and like the extremely shocked with the Tyler. It's like the generic term. Yet like I'm doing that an interaction only happening and during that interaction I'm doing maybe like Savior saying that sorry to that maybe like Savior by then might be starting to like feel that atmosphere and feeling of shame and maybe just Savior at that point telling that apology to that, not just that Wednesday, but also to that Thailand. It's like somatic that maybe that change happening to that Syria at that point by that whole that kind of that I'm looking for in that at that point would be speaking to that Syria, like the scenario that I'm looking for. But like at the same time, like when Syria would be uh, making such that transition and always to that Wednesday as well as Thailand, like and different like Silver will be also telling them won't be that spraying away from his like stand that like it wasn't him that like the culprit behind like the monster attacks like happening in like the boss like now not the other the lines like Savior still sticking by that stand and definitely at that point I'm looking that not like you can say tell us kind of publicity Savior like scenario that I'm looking at and then and like I'm looking maybe from that point on like I'm saying that Savior maybe be part of like the change of like Wednesday as well as like kind of in their whole investigation to like find out the code for like the code identity of what like uh the monster culprit that like causing all the attacks and like the boss you know what is like change the population scenario that I'm visible different I don't care. Okay, so that definitely not information right now is that like the app suddenly might be called to the person they have suddenly like might call to dogging definitely not okay, like what might have happened in that the long distance pass might have been that upper that inquiries might have been really that like might they like the final family member that like Joseph Crackstone might have finally caught definitely and might have taken out definitely not correct. But like still before getting captured by like lots of platform like I'm Korea that might have desperately searched for like after like losing like the Arab country that Koreans might have desperately searched for like any sort of way to like get revenge on those fraction and bring down those fraction to like while desperately that during that time period while desperately searching for like a solution maybe all by herself or like the one of like captain number of the guns and they don't like uh, she either them both or like while searching like she finished or you know might have found some sort of like a specific unique kind of like a magical item uh magical item or like might have been like a magical spell. It might be like writing like on like a stone tablet or like some unique language like magical language like basically that language is like replaces like if you some spell might get activated and basically and that spell onto different or like that magical items that is what I'm describing, which is only usable only once and that the person who like use that magical item or like shapes that spell would be ending up resulting in like that person even after getting taken out like ending up like getting resurrected as like a zombie might have been like the case, definitely was very much so like that way usually once like Joseph Braxton might have usually captured like Julie Adams and might have taken out Julie Adams like at that point like felt effect might have happened and basically even though Joseph Braxton are taking out like Julie Adams might have Joseph Braxton that one might have totally often knew that like he has totally wiped out like Travis and then they speak of like Joseph Braxton while he might have kept living on like what might have happened in the case of like in the case of like Goody Arrow might have been that like she might have gotten resurrected and as part of like the effect of like the magic like it might have been such that basically that individual who uses that magic after getting taken out would be only getting resurrected after like a great number of years you know might be like the case in the universe so like my perception right now is that like the present day grandmother of like Wednesday might actually be like the resurrected zombie Julian might be actually the living through like or once getting resurrected like and like the blonde hair of that Julian, the skin of that Julian might have gone turned extra pale, as well as like the her blonde hair might have turned into that corona hair might have been what might have happened especially in Ukraine. So that might have been right now where Julie Adam might have that way gotten like the number of years in that around like the scenario might have only gotten resurrected as like a zombie and like that Julie Evans might be like the present day grandmother of like Wednesday and like the mother of Natisha might be like the case the believe and like it might have been such that basically the effect of like the that zombie like resurrection spell might have been such that is that not just like the offspring of like Julie Adams, but also that anyone who gets like married into like the Adams family all would be turning into like zombies would be all would be like caused by the effect of spell and would be turning into zombies. Might have been like the case is definitely much between like the player was from like Norwegian as to do might have that learned of the player and maybe that can different that possibly maybe being like the reason for like maybe a fundamental phrase while e-commerce as well as like Nordica were like I think like for example were students of like nevermore at that point like commerce might have had that massive threat on like Nordica and maybe government might have proposed to Nordica multiple times but like Nordica might have each and every single time rejected land for government and some like at that point like government might have felt might have been believing that way believe might have been that might be due to like Mokisha, no lighting problem, but like and like might have been only eventually towards like end of like the progressing like an or more academy from that like once the progressing like an or more academy was like over and that late might have been a scenario where like Mokisha as well as like so might have Mokisha might not actually end up in a situation where like this is like we as well as Pinter and those like secret villains and like and different like all sorts of like false accusation might have happened against like Northeast and like Northeast might have been about to totally get framed and be sent to that like but like at that point like at that last second and it might have been honest that might have been as like a failure and might have lied and took that the blame what we might have taken like the blame of that as like the culprit behind all the crimes and that way like once like one might have been produced the top court like and like the evidence might have ended up matching and that way Thomas might have been released and that way Tom might have not been gotten sent to like might have been lost at the happen of the play was released. Like the play different like it might be after that I'm different like Motisha might have kindly on top of like apologizing to like Thomas like Motisha for like rejecting Thomas that and like what she might have at that only at that point might have told Thomas about like why she that the reason of stuff like why she rejected Thomas that is a very similar kind of because like any like anyone who ends up becoming part of like parents family ends up becoming a zombie. So like until that point like Thomas might have been an actual human and not been a zombie. But like even after like realizing about like the staunting in terms of like Thomas might have been perfectly okay with it might have been due to like that absolute love that like Thomas might have had to of like Mopika might have been like the case of Lincoln Select. In that way, like I'm like Thomas maybe at that point might have married Mopika and like her and the same of like Thomas might have married Mopika like Thomas might have like like start turning extra paid and like usually like Thomas might have ended up maybe like turning into a zombie might have been it's like Mopika might have been as well as like Mopika's grandmother might have been what might have happened is definitely like the end. So that continuous interaction book may be affected of that maybe like so at like open like that black book that belongs to like the Adam might be actually open at like Wednesday's home mansion might be like the case of it might be a mansion in which that Adam family might live so it might be there that like in actual to like the black book belongs to that Williams that might according to the might be Wednesday's grandmother um, uh, the so like the black book might be at like the mansion, for example, it might be the case that you will put anything as well as like I'm thinking of after like Woody Adams like losing like the Adams family and like Woody Adams like surviving. Yet like it might have been a scenario where like eventually as like Woody Adams might have been about to get captured by those Draxler like and it might have been like a roadblock kind of like a situation for like Woody Adams like and where like Woody Adams might have not known what else to do to like get revenge on and bring down like Joseph Draxler. Maybe at that point that like Woody Adams might have had like a final vision promotion drawing. And until that point, like I'm referring like that flash book of like Woody Allen might have contained all the future promotion drawing connected to like the villains of secret villains and stuff like the character might have been the case of villain different. But like the final version drawing that Woody Allen might have had might have not been a drawing, but that might have been a spell might have been like that vision drawing that it might have been a spell that finally on the last page of that flash book that Woody Allen might have through that vision prompt that might have ended up writing and that page. And so after writing that like Gloria Adams like maybe without even knowing what she had written on the last page, like Gloria Adams might have read like the writing of that the spell citation on that last page. And at that way that the effect of like the spell of like the initial resurrection of that Gloria Adams that might have happened and like the magic like effect of the magic might have might have at that point like the moment like we realized might have about that spell recited that spell that effect might have happened and might have been soon after like the restaurant might have captured and taken off like Julian and that way Julian like after all these great number of years might have due to the effect of the spell might have resurrected as like a zombie might have been what might have happened with living friend. So like a condemned friend for prepping for land Wednesday as well as like the Adams family members all possibly being like zombies and definitely might be the reason for like right now lecture of right now after like checking Wednesday that they just straight away declaring Wednesday as not alive and that for like having been not alive for a while might be or people with reason might be the case that living for them. So like about the anything like Julie Adams might be like the second day zombie grandmother of like Wednesday of like the zombie Wednesday and like second like how Wednesday not knowing this like Wednesday might also might be actually not so aware that basically Wednesday has said about like Wednesday has said the zombie is might be also the case that Wednesday so that continuation of like exactly like the extra paid situation that Wednesday like this that trigger situation as well, which might be definitely constant ever since that Wednesday would that another might be the case and that Wednesday might be confused about that this difference event compared to that other humans that like Wednesday have might be let's say case especially the friends. So that's definitely that way. Wednesday might be probably another that like Wednesday that was all it might be the case like also together and definitely so definitely at present like it might have definitely been Wednesday constantly taking advantage of that Wednesday's like situation to prevent getting captured by the law or might have been what might have happened right now. Definitely don't bring also, the police might have the enforcement right now is that basically the hand thing might actually be that the hand of that person platform. It's also like about that and it was like I'm looking that up from that distant past, like in the distant front of like there might have been that like alternate bad final battle between that Jody Adams versus that Joseph Crackstone, which like even though Joseph Crackstone might have defeated Jody Adams and might have taken some out like still right before getting taken out like Jody Adams might have uh, 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 that fight might have ended up with like Joseph Crackstone still losing his left hand towards the end of that battle and Joseph Crackstone like at that point that might have been when like Joseph Crackstone but like the other round might have taken out that Jody Adams might have been like the case in the New Brain. So like even though while getting taken out that Jody Adams might have been holding on to that the hand of that Joseph Crackstone so that way like the spell that might have been already inflicted upon like Jody Adams might have while taking out Black Widow might have all held on to like the Crackstones like lost hand. While the Crackstone with that vein might have probably ran away from there at that point might have been what might have happened to that seed treatment might have been what might have happened certainly might have been the emergency. So uh, that way like the effect of that while laying on the ground like while holding on to after getting taken out by holding on to like the hand of like the Crackstones that way that way is that the effect of that the spell might have spread towards like Joseph Crackstone's like hand as well. Might have been what might have happened is that might have been the revolution. So definitely after like the crackdown might have gotten treated that and like the crackdown might have run back to that location. At that point, like those crackdown might have been shocked because like at that point, like due to the effects of like spell like that both uh Woody Adams as well as like the hand that Woody Adams might have been holding on to while laying on the ground like might have both disappeared, might have been caught and had disappeared over the like Joseph Crackdown might have been shocked and might have maybe assumed that maybe some wild animal might have taken it. Might be along the lines like those correct might have assumed and might have went on with his life, might have been what might happen some news brain. So definitely I'm remembering that after this great number of years like like the reason something like like through effects of like spell accountable friends and like Julia might have resurrected as like a zombie like the hand of like Joseph Backstone as well might have resurrected along with like Julia and that hand like Woody Adams deciding to like call that and thing. It's definitely my variant. So like that way that this might have been what might have happened is definitely my concerns. Also according to my experience like after that Woody Adams like resurrection uh, as like a zombie that Woody Adams might have also prioritized stealth and might have even changed Woody Adams' name as well might have been what might have happened is definitely my concerns. So definitely like she might have maintained that stealth not only from like her perspective world but also from her own offspring Mortis as well might have been also like the case that the that of the Guru thing. So like she might have Williams might have won a offspring that Mortis has feel like go up to like never more and basically discovered like the whole upset once like Julie Adams might have found out that like Mortis as well has like inhabited that conviction of uh, might have been what might have happened is like the possibility that of the super young friend. Okay, so like the Freeman mentioned right now that like Rowan might have had like a repeated that recent drawings of that is that most of attacking Rowan before that imagery that it might have been definitely safer that might have been like the most of that specifically attacked Rowan definitely was framed so that even before that incident like I'm saying that the Rowan specifically might have had this that might have been going crazy with that I think particularly having this like vision drawing of that particularly of a great number of vision drawings specifically of this that specific modes of like attacking uh, and which might be all the drawings of like modes of like that let's say there was like hiding it with let's say couple of locations might have been all Rowan's like drawings from back then and Rowan back then might have been really going crazy and like even back then like Rowan might have been not all been aware of like say the having like this like power of like this like the exact same monster transformation might have been like pretty definitely not the so definitely like every time like Rowan might have been going crazy about the like fear of like basically about his like drawing of with like monster like basically like attacking his own like and while Rowan might have been talking to telling to that up to fear and worry might have been telling about this to like Saber at that point like Saber it might have seriously disturbed Saber and like Saber might have kept that secret within him and like it's like repeated worry of like Rowan and like the more Rowan might have drew this like this drawing of like very exact monster like Saber might have been getting more and more disturbed and annoyed that like the soul might have collectively might have made ended up in that quarrel between like Rowan as well as like Savior. Eventually, once like Rowan might have told Savior about like once like Wednesday had like entered into like one of one that basically like Rowan might have ended up with like such a scenario where like Rowan might have felt that fear that basically all those like drawing about like the monster might have been definitely to be becoming would be totally connected with like Rowan's like mother's like uh, promotion of like Rowan's mother's like promotion drawing as well and basically it might be definitely connected to like Wednesday's like entering to like never know that like the monster might attacking Rowan might be happening. So along the lines like Rowan might have felt even more of fear and that definitely to prevent that from like anything happening to that Rowan as well as like the entirety of like never know that definitely when space should definitely be stopped with the along the lines like Rowan might also save us. So that definitely Rowan might have also maybe so save us that basically all the slap half three victims like it's like third victim happening on like the very day that like when they had like I think that had like joined no, definitely have from like Savior Rowan might have been telling favor that like the monster that he draws through his like vision drawing is like the exact monster behind all the like victims and basically that like Wednesday might actually see like have the power to like transform into monster. So like Wednesday might actually be like monster might be also, and so that Wednesday in the for like entrance never was just like a student, like even before that Wednesday might have been secretly sticking around close to like Nevermore. And that way might have been like the culprit behind all the past two victims as well. Might be along the lines that Aaron might have been telling Saga, which might have eventually been like the limit for like Saga. Due to like from Saga's point of view, the failure might have been feeling all this like thought implication against like Saga that like Aaron was like throwing around. Might have been along the lines like Saga might have been feeling. So like that way like this whole Tuar and Pride City like Saga and all might have happened. Was definitely my prediction. But like eventually once like Saga himself definitely while attacking Rowan like Saga might have definitely not thought of like might have definitely not thought of like the vision drawings of like Rowan or anything like at that point like for Saga it might the only thing in like Saga might have been like Saga while stalking like Rowan and stalking Wednesday like Wednesday was like chasing after like a Rowan already had this like it was like towards that Wednesday and one of the like Wednesday down that it might have been solely out of concern that like they might have followed after like Wednesday might have been the case. So that while Rowan attacked Wednesday, it might have been definitely favors interfering and attacking Rowan to that save Wednesday, but like it might have been after like or that incident and after that like Savior might have been also on top of that like once again being shocked with like the realization of like the missing sudden missing of like Rowan after that. So definitely it might be since then I'm different that was like Owen's like promotion drawing that he had thrown until that point of that was like monster like basically that promotion drawing eventually ending up being through save of himself that might have of like a lot of feeling of like a haunting like feeling of like guilt and disturbance within that Sega might have been like the base complement within this collection and that the point that Rowan might have done this might have been far great in like number like which might have been all present at like serious room which like Wednesday might have failed to that point so leading to that back when that Wednesday was like expecting that Rowan and she was like role that's definitely like at that point like we due to that Priyanka pathway like showing up and Sega showing up to that point alone like Wednesday might have not been able to like continue her and that even not being able to continue her first like that might have been like the total for like Wednesday that and not being able to like find uh, uh, and a whole different self where like there might have been all this like great number of drawing of like about this like specific monster itself like stacked up and hidden there might have been like a case happening as well. So like figure with that up to step might have been happened that incident with like Rowan might have been steadily taking bit by bit of like that drawing from the like room and might have been steadily transporting it bit by bit to like with like different location in this like different building. Might have been what might have happened is definitely that the brand okay, so that definitely not right now that like figure at person might be held that at which we are like the website that we see continuous investigation that the way she's going right now like basically eventually finding out that like Sega can transform into that exact number and like around the point like that way Sega getting into trouble might be around the time Sega might be having that fear so like to derail that Wednesday like, investigation might be the reason for like Sega exactly like how Thornton case being put like it might have been that the calculative luring of that Wednesday into that by Savior that most likely consciously that revealing that the star mark on serious net and that way for like Savior might have wanted to like consciously create like that suspicion within like Wednesday towards like Savior and that way for like Wednesday to that spy on and follow Savior and that way Savior's plan might have been to like that way lure and lead Wednesday towards like that building and basically for like Wednesday to like see all that drawing of that Owen within that within that building and basically at that point for like say we have to like click upon that app to pay anything and derail like Wednesday like investigation by telling Wednesday that like it's of like Savior that like Savior has been having all these like visions about this like monster and how and has been like disturbed and basically that what and for like Savior so that we claim all this like drawings of this monsters like then they are drawing that of like drawing that like definitely drawn through this like vision drawings that what like Savior to like theorize Wednesday's investigation by claiming all that drawing as like it all being Xavier drawing that like Xavier had drawn through Xavier's like vision drawings like and basically since like Xavier's father like Clinton I think like have Xavier have been revealed I think like that is like father Vincent I think like having vision powers like basically for like Xavier to like totally like and totally falsely claim that like he has inherited this like father's like vision powers to Wednesday and basically that way Saviors has been that disturbed and found by visions of like foreign of like small clubs and everything. Would be along the lines for like Savior might be attempting to like proceed to rain Wednesday and that way for like Wednesday to like never feel any suspicion towards like Savior and connect to not for like Wednesday to not be like connect Savior to like the monster, especially with like the recent situation of Tyler which might have been definitely it might have been saved up himself into that monster form. That might have attacked like Tyler and might be exactly at that point that Tyler might have while trying to like free himself that might have resulted in like the neck scarf on like Savior's neck might have been like the case definitely with so like definitely like the news about like Tyler still surviving like Savior might by now at present like might have learned of the news of like Tyler still surviving but at least like Saber might be totally feeling like uneasy and fearful of like the possibility of like once like Wednesday will be finding out about like Tyler's situation and definitely once that interaction between like Tyler and Wednesday would be happening like at that point Tyler telling Wednesday about like monster attacking Tyler and basically at that point that maybe the possibility of like Wednesday maybe connecting like south and maybe like the suspicion towards like the possibility of maybe like Savior being like the monster like happening for like Wednesday might be along the lines of fear that figure might be having at present speculative. So that way let derail this like whole investigation of that Wednesday from that Wednesday. Now to that taking that basically Sager is definitely like the monster might be what like Sager might be right now in a cunning manner might be attempting by direct Wednesday to that building by precisely storing all of like around drawing in that building so that way manipulate Wednesday in such a manner might be like the like a possibility that might be like active situation like a possibility that I'm looking at again. There is like definitely my story emerging right now that like neither any similar no none of like the students that like another one except for like the beehive front of like Wednesday except for him like none of the other students that like none of might be even to the person might be even aware of that Ajax situation of like Ajax has turned into like a stone statue and definitely I'm looking like the culprit behind that might have maybe the behind front of like Wednesday. So for out of like jealousy to like prevent like the meeting frequent meeting between like anything lab as well as like Ajax. It might have been like that behind friend might have had like technically of and using with which like he might have being like the culprit behind that age and turning into like a stone statue might have been like the case with the flavor for religion. But like I'm just wondering that get like what might have happened might have been since like Thornhill is in charge of like the town. I'm talking about like it might have been Thornhill. By sheer coincidence it might have been like Thornhill since like Thornhill was like up and out in like the middle of that night, like it might have been that Thornhill that might have been like the person that might have first found that exactly like so catching situations definitely was for him. So like at that point, like it Thompson might out like the stone statue of like that somewhere deep with at like some secret in deep within like nevermore or at like some building close to like nevermore like a different like Thompson might have set up like the stone statue of like Ajax and might have aware that Wings as well as Kimbot about the situation that Live and Freddy. So definitely I'm bring that we the decision that Wings might have came down to my people actually to declare like the spelling of like Ajax as like the next expression after like around uh for spelling on the spring that will be happening next will be definitely on the spring first to be Ajax spelling definitely and definitely like I'm totally bring that way been like once again like using powers like once again transforming into Ajax and basically like getting it on a car and basically that as well just so referring like downhill would be drive and basically like Ajax that way the like never know uh, the, that such the sudden news like I'm the different shocking kind of news of the different like for anything like hearing finding out about without created is also like the scenario that I was looking because like in the case of like anything that like anything that even to the present like basically not seeing that much unfazed while being excited for like Wednesday going for like the Ravens and everything. So definitely I would like and in like anything like this like anything like who has already been revealed to be extremely disappointed and frustrated due to like Ajax not showing up on that night like usually any similar like to like same in similar to right now like totally excited about like Wednesday going to like the Ravens like I'm going like the situation with like anything that might be like even though in similar might be secretly filled with that absolute disappointment uh and might have like on that might have probably wanted to like move on from like Ajax without realizing like Ajax's situation like in Finland might have assumed that it might have been like Ajax probably making an absolute mockery out of like anything like uh, definitely might have been very ambitious. So definitely yeah like I'm looking like anything like was like leading. So that's friend that like even to the person like I'm looking like anything that might be only focusing on like basically going to like the Ravens with like Ajax is definitely my favorite ambition. So like for that also anything like I'm considering like as like an absolute shocking news like I'm considering like sort of news of like things that getting expelled from like never known happening is like scenario that I'm so like I'm considering that way like the scenario could be like while we would be transforming and would be in like the form of Ajax and I'm focusing at that point for like scenario could be like I'm seeing the Ajax like will be like walking towards like the car in which like concrete will be trying and like as like Ajax will be walking towards that car like and definitely walk anything that like running towards like Ajax and basically like particularly asking Ajax as to like why he doesn't show up uh, at that night and basically like as to like why he's like leaving and everything would be an organized like anything for anything like I'm looking maybe in there like really update that's really asking like Ajax but like I'm looking like Ajax and the spring like at that point like means with that approach acting like saying something to like for anything like and this role and code to like anything like and basically he gets straight away get known to like the town and basically like wins in like exact form like leading with that job along with that down. It's like a scenario that I'm afraid. But like I'm afraid this time like I'm afraid like me I'm totally different while once like the news of like Ajax getting itself like anything not only finding out about this and like would be running off to find Ajax like at that point if I'm like all this happening in like the presence of Wednesday as well like scenario that I'm afraid. So definitely I'm afraid like while Ajax will be living in that car being said like the transform form of like Ajax will be living in that car like and that time as well, I'm so different from like when stating like definitely get things to like get onto that with that aspect that then definitely this time like I'm definitely think during things like investigation mission like and different like thing this time like during that time like I'm definitely uh, that itself would be finding out that basically it's like not the origin Ajax, but like it's like changed using like the transformation, using her like being pulsing transformation power and like using that to like basically to create like the form of like Ajax maybe along the lines like things would be figuring out in like things like second right. It's like things just enough set up on the point. And like once like things that way would be with that absence that will be running back and recording back to like Wednesday. At that point I'm just definitely Wednesday getting way more clarity as to like the own situation. So like at that point like I'm doing most likely Wednesday come down to the conclusion that like Wednesday like Owen's like uh expulsion and basically going even going being taken all the way to like the train station or that was like a stage act would be along the lines of different like uh, would be along the lines that the different Wednesday at that point would be able to like figure out by that it's like it was like being all along that going on like it would be along the lines of different that those things felt like at the different like at that point that Wednesday would be figured out like in the scenario that I'm only bringing up again. Yes, so that definitely is my person very much by that like back and it was about when Motisha was like a student like at like never more like most of my daughter get in the like surveillance and basically back then like that Motisha work for like surveillance might be like the exact stuff that like events there right now finds like intriguing at like this like Korea that he shop might antique shop might be like that related to this the living of so like definitely I'm just like Wednesday wearing that exact stuff for that for like the Raven is like the scenario that I'm in. Because like definitely I'm looking like the scenario to be that definitely eventually like anything like taking like the perfect truck that she would be fitting would be perfect for like Wednesday. But like at that point, when once like anything like will bring that truck to Wednesday like yeah, Wednesday at that point like telling anything like about like the truck that specific black truck from the various shop that basically Wednesday finds like they will so like the clear was going that way with like anything less help like Wednesday. So we giving that exact black truck and like the moment Wednesday will be touching that black truck like at that point it's going to bring like the next vision of that Wednesday happening. And I'm just bring in that next vision like that Wednesday will be getting like and we need to see that vision connecting to Morticia. Uh, back when during Morticia's like student days at like never know. It's definitely like doing the scenario that I'm just on the like almost yes, so like definitely like the ambition right now is that like Lucas Wall the plan might be to like definitely get revenge on like Wednesday, get like since like Wednesday is like a skill to fight like and different like Lucas plan might be to like definitely throw any similar like to have like any similar on the day of like on the night of like the Raven like not maybe for like anything left to like light to have to get anything left to like light to Wednesday and talk about like the like the Ravens like Sega wanted to like meet up with like Wednesday secretly in like the nearby store close to like the building of close to the record where like the building of the where like the Ravens will be taking place of the being of redemption. They are like Lucas some dollars and moving on technique uh, would be planning on setting up a trap to like that way immobilize like Wednesday and then for him to like get that like revenge. Might be along the lines on the super like this is plan it's definitely the friends but like nothing for like the last thing Insular would want to do would be to like betray Wednesday but like how much like Insular's like bond of respect might have thrown with like Wednesday by now exactly my understanding so definitely that similar roughly would might be roughly affect the mindset of like rather not having a date for like arriving over the train of that's from Wednesday. Wednesday at front might be like someone that any similar to the ability as a pet definitely non so definitely that as well as like even though any similar at person might be believing that like she has moved on but any similar at person might be really believing that she has moved on from like Ajax without realizing the situation of Ajax to definitely not surrender. So that in singular, even though she might be believing also believing that like it might have been uh, Ajax making a mockery out of like in similar that might like and in similar while even at present most likely believes that like there's moved on from Ajax still with different like and that won't be up to that previous Ajax of that anybody else for like the Raven. But anyway, so like deep down, like anything that will be still placing that hope that like hey, that before like the Raven like showing up to apologize to anything and then those like attending like the Ravens would be along the lines of the spring like anything that would be having that placing that for even to the person might be like a mechanism for him. So the clear spring like given the scenario to be anything that would be totally sitting on that absolute fake acting to get that revenge on like Lucas for like basically even daring to like how daring to even ask that instant to like the right up but friend that Wednesday. So we have like anything that putting on that keeping up that absolute fake acting getting out the details from like Lucas and like for like and that way like anything that finding out the exact location where like the person might be planning on setting up the trap and he'll be telling anything that to like bring Wednesday towards on the night of like the like the scenario that so like that way knowing that location and also bring like Wednesday along like anything that's showing up to that location even here before Lucas and maybe his friends would be showing up to like that part like even before that like Wednesday and almost like anything that's setting up their own trap exactly at that exact spot of like the scenario that I'm something which like I'm sort of bringing into the lab as for like look at this plan like anything that I'm sort of bringing Wednesday to that exact spot and like basically at that point I'm looking like instead of Wednesday like look falling for that trap like the scenario that I'm going to bring over to me and after that like I'm sort of bringing like Wednesday along with like anything platform anything that as well would have picked like the perfect for herself as well. It's definitely not good because like in singular I'm just bringing it at that point like even while like Ajax wouldn't have shown up to like a qualitative to like Sinclair, and Sinclair would still be holding on to that hope that basically once she would be showing up to like the Ravens, like still uh Ajax would be still waiting for her at like the Ravens from the along the lines of like that desperate hope that in similar even at that point in between was so like I'm just going like along like when say like anything like while thinking like the perfect trust for like the Ravens substance like and something like on like they were showing up to like the Ravens like and and similar getting that output sort of like totally it's not about finding a that's like it's not that under the goal of the realization and that way like the and it's similar on alone at like the Ravens like even while I'm different like at the Ravens I'm different that league like I'm different like one of the guys that like um asking like anything that to that effect like the scenario that I'm doing but like the game similar will be straight away like the scenario that I'm doing that way like see while Wednesday I'm just going like for that to be a dance so like that leave while Wednesday should be dancing even though thoroughly uninterested like will be still dancing the flag figure with and so different at that point for like Wednesday to like notice like in an extremely sad anything like standing all by himself at that range location like scenario that I'm in Wednesday totally noticed. So like at that point I'm bring like out of like Wednesday that absolute friendship like and like Wednesday even giving up absolute opportunity to like get to know more about like the what Wednesday will be hoping as that secret ultimate villain such of like Savior and to get more concrete evidence out of like Savior all that opportunity I'm just like Wednesday at that point like totally giving up for like in lot of perspective in similar and basically Wednesday at that point suspecting in similar or you know at like the events like like Wednesday at that point itself like leading like the Ravens with like and similar like doing the scenario that I'm just going to correct now on the Ravens either that or like Wednesday at like the Ravens like camping with like in similar instead of like say that at that point it's like the other positive scenario that I'm looking for and not very ambitious. That totally making like anything that like extremely happy. It's like the major scenario that I'm looking for and not very ambitious. I'm totally different for to be like the very next morning that I'm looking like anything that would be getting that up with shocking news about like Ajax like they kind of like expert from like never more. It's like the scenario that I'm looking something that compliment injury was like the news about like Ajax getting installed from like never more will be spreading like at that point that I'm going that means the beehive front of like Wednesday at that point him would be total during that like, because like on that very night people are going to be seeing that the Ajax he himself might have turned into like stone that is the beehive front himself might have turned using his like organic powers which he might have turned into like stone statue that will be carried away, taken and carried away by Thornhill. Like he might have steadily witnessed that especially among the Rangers. So on that night, it's like the familiar friend. So like the beehive front might be feeling that absolute guilt as of like him being the reason for like his like what he did like something like way more of like a consequence than he had expected because like definitely might have been only just like a momentary decision of like just be just wanting to like prevent like Ajax as well as like anything that from meeting that might definitely was the condition. But like that act of like him totally turning his act into like turning Ajax into like a stone statue, even spiraling into like the point of like Ajax getting expelled from like Nevermore like basically at that point untuk different like such an event scenario and at that point I'm different like the high front of like the will be in that absolute yes and I'm totally different for him most likely at that point totally conflicting to like Wednesday about like what he saw like basically about what he did as well as like what he saw like totally like carrying like the stone statue of like his death in that night so like at that point like Wednesday from different we even curious a lot that was funny at that point for like the behind from like even telling when along the lines of like basically you have hopes that basically somebody else that like Vince might definitely be able to that return that back to his like original self from like the stone statue form uh, might be along the lines like the behind front might have hope had hope but like instead of that like basically with like that getting expelled from like Nevermore was not about the consequence that he had hoped to like happen. In the along the lines of the like the beehive front would be considering. to that Wednesday, but that absolute big especially went through. So like at that point, like I'm like a lot of questions like arising in like Wednesday that mind at that point as for like but when like what is happening was like the after like the fake acting of like things like transforming herself into like and transforming herself into like the form of like AJ and is really in like the car it's like thorn it would be thriving and while the news about like him getting his would be spreading is like the scenario that I'm literally something. And at that point, I'm considering like a lot of that questions as well as like a lot of that confusions as well as like a lot of that conversions that would be happening. Connecting with like the dots, like all the number of different conventions happening for like let's say that one like scenarios like questions are for like why content was out and that night in like the middle of the night like why content was out in like the middle of the night that night as well as like as for like almost like connecting the dots that like exactly like that way 21 like thing following that car and basically uh, like getting onto that car and basically figuring out that like James have transformation powers and basically was taking like the experiment of like nature. So like just by connecting the dots and come to the conclusion that basically this might have been exactly what like means might have already and along with that he might have already done in like the case of like the spelling of that Rowan as well. It's like the scenario that I'm looking over when I was framing. And then talking for like at that point for like Wednesday, like straight away that report about all this like information to like the sheriff Galpin. And basically I'm looking for like Galpin deciding to like basically like go up to all the way up to and basically check at like Owen's home if like Owen is there from there or no. Like in the scenario that I'm and that way like Galpin making it go traveling and going all the way to like Ronsford. And the development for like Galpin was like Phoenix at like Phoenix Ronsford and like that's really known thing up. And then Galpin going all the way up to like Ronsford and like finding out moving on there. And like it's like feeling the scenario that I'm looking for the prediction of the because that way from that point on like as a Galpin from that point on like actually feeling like basically teaming up with like Wednesday would actually like make serious having like possibly having like the potential to like make serious progress in this like investigation which like he himself is like currently struggling in. It's like doing the scenario that I was about to correct that therapy. And the player thinking about the connection, the distance is up correctly teams in like the transform form of like the most eventually like in like the computer like taking out like sure Gavin is like doing the scenario that I'm about to go with like the therapy. And like the player like the new shirt that would be a replacing Gavin and definitely would be exactly would be allied, secretly allied to the villanistic beings as well as Edgar Allan Poe, and would be doing things according to the villanistic plans of Edgar Allan Poe as well as beings to totally to frame and bring down the Wednesday and the Adam families, like the scenario that I'm different. It's a bigger scenario that I'm bringing on for everything. Who's the that? We're still in a premise like that. We might be the while transforming into the monster form and taking the exact monster form as that of that serial. It might be that leaves might be that the culprit behind all the previous form victim that we don't represent as for the cave having a circular line shape might be definitely due to of like an entrance opening might be completely due to that leaves hudson in while in her monster form might have carved out that cave and definitely might be with that villain's kick and crazy intention of means while attacking and taking the parts basically to the target parts like a picture teams might be totally storing it would have all stored all of those parts on that exact within the exact caves that Linux represents. So and considering all those parts being stored in container boxes well and preserved is definitely well preserved within that cave is definitely not represent. Deep within that cave is definitely not represent. So definitely I'm looking at that right now for Wednesday as well as Eugene, the rehype friend of Wednesday Eugene as well as Wednesday right now from within the cave, finding exactly that during the scenario that I'm going to bring out today. Yeah, so definitely on the understand right now is definitely for Wednesday right now to the touch the handcuffs within the cave and the moment Wednesday would be touching those handcuffs Wednesday's next mission happening. It's the scenario that I'm looking at in that next vision I'm Wednesday most likely see like Rowan in those handcuffs, like struggling to bring the while trapped in those handcuffs with like a plaster on like the mouth of like Rowan. While like Rowan and extremely scared and badly injured, Rowan like basically quickly getting scared on seeing that this exact monster from like the drawings like basically slowly enter into that cave and approach towards like the drawing. This much so becoming like one famous likely while maybe when dragging into that cave like animals is definitely my very impression. And definitely I'm whispering maybe also talked about it like maybe while being with using a transformative bar while being transformed into like this and takes with more form like maybe even though Vince might have control that cat still might have that absolute change and her cat change might also to like act like a monster even though she might also have control to a certain extent or her action is also definitely my observation. Maybe that being the reason for all the bones within like that cave or like I'm considering that all the bones most likely meant for like the person up there which might have been avoided for like to keep on like surviving within that cave while for like needs to like interrogate and get the information out of like Rowan as to like what exactly Wednesday had talked to Owen about and what exactly why like Rowan was like attacking Wednesday that like leaders maybe might be like the great like roller coaster that I'm putting on screen. I guess so like definitely one for the right now it's definitely for like Wednesday to like most likely find like serious like a single strand of like a serious hair within like that room where like water or like the scenario that I'm putting and like basically like taking that strand of hair and like basically going up to Sheriff Galpit and basically giving it to like Galpit for like the DNA magic. And that way at that point symptoms of like all of like Wednesday's like as well as like at that point Galpin's like hope for like the DNA matching to the SSS like something that's carrying on both of them because like the DNA of magic is like the scenario that I'm putting actually saviors like DNA of like saviors hair not matching with like the DNA in that law. This like given the scenarios that I'm whispering and that we absolutely remember the between like the flaw might be only matching with like the DNA of like beings might be like the case certainly might was very ambitious and then sitting out about which like Wednesday only will be finding out in like semester later. So like certainly at that point once like the once Galpin will be extremely disappointed with like the DNA is not matching that still Galpin will be able to be confirmed with like Wednesday finding that flaw and which like I'm totally from that Galpin both easily being able to tell that it's not a flaw like compare or anything. It's like the intentional so like definitely I think that flaw would be seen as like the DNA contained within that flaw would be something that like Galpin would be seeing as like a serious lead to his like to the investigation and definitely but like in the case of like Wednesday it's different like Wednesday totally feeling as if like she is in such an absolute roadblock once again and basically all of her suspicion connected towards like Savior has ended up being for Cynthia along the line like I'm like Wednesday would be extremely disappointed at that point. It's like personality that I'm looking for. So definitely I'm looking for all this like Wednesday the DNA results coming in and all this happening like sort of happening before like the Ravens is like the scenario that I'm looking for. So like at that point I'm definitely like Wednesday totally would be definitely would have only fixed in our mind to like definitely to not go to the Ravens with like Savior. So straight away reject Savior and basically to like make it up for like Tyler and basically to invite Tyler to like the Ravens would be along the lines like Wednesday would be totally hoping that we have to put in like to be after like Wednesday would be rejecting Savior that like like Wednesday would be going up to towards like Tyler and basically would be telling Tyler asking Tyler out for like the Ravens and basically at that preparing for like Tyler to like not be in like the move and basically Tyler at that point rejecting Wednesday like the scenario that I'm looking on the right and that being such an absolute shock for like Wednesday and multiplying at that point Wednesday turning back to her room and at that point I'm multiplying like any simple complete revealing to like Wednesday about like this was like rap for like Wednesday's like the scenario that I'm doing so like that way like I'm definitely Wednesday as well as like anything there at that point deciding to like definitely still go to the Ravens and basically for them those like for like the best friends like Wednesday and anything there to like go and dance with like the Ravens. It's like the scenario that I'm also only trying. So like for them to dance at like the Ravens after like basically destroying like the trap plan of like Lucas would be along the lines of multiple like in Finland and Wednesday. You're planning and like them executing the plan and basically Lucas falling into the trap. And like after that, like I'm like Wednesday along with like any similar like dancing and like the Ravens joyfully is like the scenario that I'm playing. By then I'm looking for like Tyler like having feeling bad about like rejecting Wednesday and like Tyler having that change in his mind and basically Tyler okay preparing to be showing up to like the Ravens and at that point like I'm different like Tyler shocked me seeing like anything that as well as like Wednesday like athlete magic and like the Ravens is like feeling good scenario that I'm looking for the Korean. Also, the police of the Korean right now is for like the exact reason for like Tyler at present like appearing to be totally fine and without any injuries. Like Savior like having the injuries on his like neck might have been definitely to that made Tyler secretly hiding the fact that Tyler might be secretly having immense power himself to certainly mentioned. So like definitely I was putting that on that previous night like I think definitely Savior might have probably definitely I'm sitting about the premise that Savior might have definitely tried attempted to like take advantage of like the situation of like the fourth victim to like target Tyler in this like monster form that way. Say that in this monster form might have attempted to like take out Tyler, but like I'm going at that point from that scenario situation, like I'm saying, Tyler might have brought out his powers and like might be through such a manner like Tyler's powers, it might be even more intense that Tyler might have escaped as well as like Saber might have ended up getting that scar on his like current scar on his like neck as well might have been what might have happened to Stephanie Mercury and Richard. So this might be the reason for like Tyler at present like feeling perfectly fine. It's also definitely might be clear temperature and definitely like so Tyler might have had this like encounter with like the monster and that way Tyler might have been totally looking forward to like revealing that crucial information to like Wednesday projected Tyler on like something to like the Ravens, the Cleveland Ravens. So like that Tyler's plan might have been to like release this crucial information to Wednesday at like the Ravens might have been against the Cleveland Ravens. But like I'm doing this to like Wednesday projecting Tyler like I'm doing like Tyler. Tyler might have decided to like not even bother to like release that crucial information to like Wednesday and that way and Wednesday output not investigated might be along the lines like Tyler might have at that point decided and might have been what might have happened. Definitely on the Ravens. Okay, so like technically mandatory I'm right now is that the situation is that Saber might be definitely that Saber while upsetting the friends might be that the lots of that had like attacked her own like still the mandatory in that like the fourth victim that were attacked. Close to like no fault might be the culprit might be inactivity seems using a transformation power to like take the exact monster form as that of like Saber about which like people having such a monster form that such power like about which like might be totally aware the movement and definitely in the case of like Savior in the case of final situation like it might have been definitely after like being skin or like monster form that might have after like taking out like the fourth system that of like the old man like after that like when we might have been running away and might have been heading back towards like Nevermore. At that point I'm looking like it might have been like I'd like Savior's had like Tyler's phone like while Tyler wasn't that after like it might have been the ceiling might be a moonlight kind of like a transparent kind of like a feeling and like ceiling area. So like in that transparent area, like in different like Sega, while at like the bathtub might have really been like just like monster like running through like the ceiling of like Tyler's home. Might have been what might have happened to the neighbor region. This might see like a reason for like Tyler probably getting scared, kind of like getting scared and like screaming from like the bathtub. Might be like the point when like Tyler might have seen this like monster like running through like ceiling of like Tyler's home might have been what might have happened certainly on the release. And for like in the case of like Saber, like it might have been definitely Rowan might certainly be alive and like I'm different like that handcuff in that cave might have been definitely where like Owen might have been interrogated by Queen for a while, especially when friends and all those bones that of the animals that were present in that uh present in that cave might have all been while we have like mortar form like basically uh, providing for like Rowan for like Rowan survival might have been like the demon preemption. So definitely after like interrogation like the different like beings might have move on to like some other location, stealthy location in that very same forest, like close to like not stealthy, but then like some other like some other secret location within that forest, like of like a building, like or like another cave or something like where of like a building is where on the different like a person like a ruin might be in this like locked up kind of like situation that leave them to impression and definitely during the interrogation like these who might be might be developed aware of like these saviors like of thing like this like most of transformation which might be the case. So like we might have uh, while Rowan might have been that impressive kind of like situation like we might have revealed to like Rowan about like basically being like savior like Rowan like Rowan who made that had basically attacked Rowan to save Wednesday might be along the line like things might have revealed to like Rowan and that might have caused that extreme obsession within like Rowan and like Rowan might have been desperate at that point, even while being in like imprisoned kind of state that Rowan might have been desperate to like get revenge on like Sega for that. That remember with and while unable to like move, that Rowan might be in like an imprisoned and immobilized kind of like state. Certainly one of the revenge. So like while being there and like Rowan might be all about the uneason until like being shows up. Certainly one of the revenge. So the bit well, like staying there trapped and all alone, like a manager Owen might have been filled with like the thoughts of like of that absolute rage and Kazar to get revenge on like Savior that basically that Kazar might have ended up with like Owen like telekinesis powers like getting stronger to the point of like Owen maybe gaining telepathic powers as well and even those powers like enhancing to the point of like maybe that resulting in like Owen totally affecting like remotely, even while being in that remote location, into some kind of like location, like around being able to like affect remotely affect like the using around like enhanced powers like might have grown during that time, like around being able to like affect remotely affect savior and savior like and that way like savior might have started like to have like the nightmares happen to like savior and like maybe savior being forced to like throw like the points of like some of the uh, basically even like failure might have not made about like uh, the monster in like the drawing like attacking savior and that being like how like the scratch mark on savior's neck of storm like savior might have actually been not lied about this technical thing so the clear city like so that like even the black and person like savior telling 11 to like say you're spending Wednesday do like leave like and leave from like serious like things what the problems are like the different if you're leaving like Wednesday might have actually managed to like take one of like manage to like exactly quickly wipe away like one a hair friend get hold of like a hair friend or like so you're just definitely my friend so that way like I'm doing like without creatively like Wednesday bringing that hair friend to of that figure to that sharp caliber and it looks from that the DNA matching test potentially abundant approach ending up in not matching the collective into scenario that I'm because of it. But like at that point, only at that point I'm exploring like for like when of people like feel absolutely guilty of like basically suspecting that figure so much. It's like the scenario that I'm referring to the point, like when Square complete, also assuming that basically everything Sega reflecting might be the truth, and that way people that are would get like when step in that know like fully and blindly trusting Sega to the point of like when Square, even assuming that like the monster that attacked Howard was not Sega, when in actuality that might have actually been Sega onto my vegetarian about which only Wednesday will only be finding out only like the subject, of course, like only like the just like being the scenario that episode of the program was filmed.